You're listening to From a Certain Point of Skew, the only Star Wars podcast to talk all things Star Wars. Welcome to a day drinking episode. I am Jason, the Ginger Jedi Guy, broadcasting live from inside Wookiee Poo Studios, who my neighbor Cole, White Krasakistian, has been sitting for 25 minutes, refusing to start without me. But I guess I'm not alone. Please allow me to introduce your favorite wretched scum, Cole, scoundrels and smugglers, Matt, a.k.a. Darth Matthews. Let me introduce you first to my neighbor Cole. What's it like hanging out here in the studio in Wookiee Poo Studios without me?
The cats kept me company.
Did they?
Yeah, they
keep you warm?
Grooming my beard that I've been growing in while I've been on my little mini vacation.
I refuse to start without you.
I mean, I should have just, I'm glad we waited because that was a perfect introduction. That was beautiful. Thanks for having me.
I have no problem letting the audience know what's going on right now.
We're loyal.
I was having a good time. I haven't seen my sister in 2 years. I'm like, hey guys, you know what? I might be running a little bit late. I'm going to have some drinks with my sister and hang out.
I don't remember the conversation going like that.
It was exactly in the fucking chat room.
Do you remember that?
I was like, I have not seen her in years. If you guys want to, look, either I can start at this time or we go later. And then you're like, well, I'm sitting in the fucking studio, so let's do this.
I honed in on, I don't know, when someone says, I think we're good for 3:30.
Yep.
Yeah, 3:30 will work for me. I'll let you know if I can go earlier.
All right. Yeah.
That typically means to me.
So, like, I got here 8 minutes late and had to take a 7.5 minute piss. You're welcome.
15 minutes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is From a Certain Point of Skew, and you're going to hear us discuss all of the Book of Boba Fett, episodes 1 through 4, maybe all of just 4. And Cole is here for an hour, and he's the most important person, so we better get going.
Yeah. Let's introduce our third micer, though. Matt,
he's
coming in hot from the Skype lines as well.
Real hot. Apparently, everyone's hot but me.
I am Boba Fett.
How many times does he say in the episode?
Like 10?
Like when you have to tell a fucking robot you're Boba Fett.
I know, that was the best.
You've gone too far.
It's like it's the ultimate flex. Do you know who I am?
Hey, look at here, Bugs Bunny. I've got you in a chokehold. I'm Boba Fett.
Thanks for having me in. Real quick, particulars out of the way. From a certain point of skew.com is our website. You can find us on Twitter at FACPApod. FACPApod at Gmail is our email address if you want to send us anything for the Maul Bag. At Podawans on Twitter for the Podawan Podcast Network. And a reminder that we are doing a giveaway this season of the Book of Boba Fett for a lightsaber made by Darth Flamingus. So please tweet about the show, write a review, bring a friend to the show, all those things, and you will get entries to win that.
Yeah, you double your entries if you bring a friend to the show.
Right.
That's true.
It's really good, yeah.
And apparently when you go out and have family time, you lose friends of the show. So that's fine. I do want to speak for a minute. Like, let's
go ahead. The floor is yours.
Let's church up this fucking lightsaber here. We're giving away a lightsaber to the audience. All you have to do is listen to the show. All right, you have to fucking communicate. You have to recommend a friend. You get bonus points, which we talked about last week.
Write a review.
Bring people into this. Like, you want a free lightsaber? It doesn't cost you much. You don't even pay shipping and handling, okay? This isn't like Bill Cosby looking to touch you back in the day with that fucking magic bee pen. What was that show?
You sound a little bit like Bill Cosby right now.
Picture page. Oh, I will touch everybody right now.
I
don't even need a pill. I'll fucking deny it when I'm sober. But
I can't wait for the Book of Boba hot takes today from you.
All right.
It's going to be interesting.
Do I sound that bad?
No.
I had 3 fucking hazies. I'm good. All right. All right. So I guess I'll do my part of the fucking show. On the show today, we've got a question of the week.
You sense some passive aggressiveness, Matt, or just me?
It's just toward you, though.
All right.
We've got a question of the week. We've got Fennec's turn. In the news, we've got the Bad Batch Season 2 this spring. We're hoping for. We don't have a date, but we're going to get into that. Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. This is where we discuss all of the things that happened in Chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett. And you know what? Look, I think maybe this might be the best episode. I'm going to go out on a limb here and be like, you know what? This one captured, it kind of made all things whole. And which is funny is my 9-year-old son was like, how come they took this long to get everything to make sense? Which is, I was like, well, sometimes you need to do, sorry, Cole, to do things non-linear.
I think we're linear going forward.
I think so.
I think, you might not be. You're not wrong. I think this episode was probably the best out of all 4 so far. For me, anyways. I enjoyed it. We'll dive into that definitely here in a little bit, but we got question of the week, correct?
We got a question of the week. We've got a Maul Bag. We're going to come up. We've got 1 email so far. We'll see if there's a surprise drop before we finish this up.
Question of the week. It was actually Fennec's Tum Tum, but I could see how it looks like an RN instead of an MM. That's okay. In this week's episode of the Book of Boba Fett, we got a more detailed look at how Fennec Shan was modified to save her life from the gut shot she took in The Mandalorian from that motherfucker Toro Calican. Hope you rot in hell.
I was waiting if that was coming up.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, so with an overhauled abdomen, should she really be eating chicken?
Well, I mean, it's protein, right? So it's good for her.
But does she have a stomach? I guess she has a stomach. Does she have intestines? I mean, all that shit that she gets fixed, which we'll go over here in a minute, is it like right in the money zone of your digestive system?
That's what I said. Is this whole entire operation just gonna make sure that she can poop again? Because
Well, I feel like it's still the point
really
is
could
she's
think
still
of.
processing nutrients, right?
Okay.
Like she's not a fully functional robot. It's just allowing her to function whatever her stomach would do to allow her to process the vitamins, her proteins, pass the fat, whatever doesn't get processed in the body in the right way, she gets to shit out. Like this is just functioning as that point, right?
I guess so. It is very invasive. I mean, we've talked before about like Maul probably can't have sex and maybe can't shit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But this one, it's like the area that he goes in and fixes up. It just made me wonder, how would she have normal bodily functions in that area?
You think that she should be on maybe a liquid diet for the first 5 days at the
I
very
would think
least.
so.
Yeah.
Maybe soft ice cream.
Maybe some black melon balls, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she eats one of those like desert rats that he's always cooking on the
Yep.
campfire later in
Yeah.
this episode. So I don't know.
Do you think that before like homeboy Thundercat, the Grammy-winning artist who played the modifier in the show, do you think before all of that he did like a CT scan, maybe did it got her an MRI, or maybe
Don't
just
think so.
like he was like, you know what, does she need a pancreas or maybe even an appendix?
Right. We'll look over at Cole there.
Well, yeah, I don't know. He didn't seem like he was a very credentialed doctor.
Yeah.
No.
Seems
not
like he
at all.
was.
Feels like he was working for the credits.
the Dreadlocks Tattoo Shop / modification
Yeah.
parlor on the outskirts of Mos Eisley.
Well, and time was of the essence because, that bantha ride, I'm sure, took at least 6 hours.
Oh, just to get over one dune.
Yeah. So she.
What
she is
was
not
the point? Here's the thing: is what is the point of him finding her, right? Taking her all the way across the desert to modify her homeboy's fucking hut, and convincing him for some credits to modify her, get her living again, and then he puts her back on the bantha and takes her back where he found her, because it looks like that's where he takes her to. So when she wakes up, she's in the same spot she thought she died at.
Oh, I didn't think she was in the same spot. I think they were in some other spot of the desert. I didn't think they were at the same exact spot.
Okay.
I think he recognized the potential, and he recognized her as a famous assassin. So
Well, no, I know what he took in
his
from her, but
motivation
why
was?
take? I was like, why take her to the spot where she was last? That seems like a trip.
Yeah,
for
I didn't get
nothing.
the impression that
Okay.
they were in the same spot. I just
Okay.
The
All right.
urgent
Well,
care,
you know.
urgent care on Mos Eisley would have just been like, "Hey, just drink some Gatorade. Should be fine."
I hear Gatorade fixes everything.
Sure does.
In the news, Bad Batch Season 2. We've been kind of waiting to hear if that was ever, going to be announced, when it was going to show, all that kind of stuff, trying to figure out where it lines up in the lineup of 2022 schedule, especially with Kenobi and Andor and all that other stuff that's coming up. And so Star Wars Insider showed a release of a spring 2022 coming soon. So it showed Kenobi and Andor is still in production. It showed Bad Batch as being like done and coming soon. And so I don't think it said March. I think that's what everybody's probably expecting is March. Because Book of Boba runs through February 9th. They're probably going to do a Disney gallery after that. There may be a buffer week or two. And then I think maybe it starts in March. And we're expecting Kenobi would start on May the 4th. That's when that might drop. So what they would do is they do the first half of the season, break for Kenobi, and show you the second half of the season after Kenobi, and that leads up to Andor. I mean, that would be what I would do, but Disney, whatever. I think that would make the most sense, but we'll see. I'm just excited that we're going to get, that's my only concern right now with Book of Boba is like, we're going to get through these next few episodes. They're going to have a Disney gallery and then we're going to have nothing again. So the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Now, my first run through, I liked the episode, but I was kind of left thinking like they're really taking their time here to set up this big flourish at the end, which we've talked about before as far as a lot of the setup and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're over halfway through the season already. So, and I mean, I think, Mando took its time as well. It was just kind of a different thing, but I just was kind of like waiting for you're just waiting for the big moments and all that kind of stuff. But that said, when I went back and watched it again, I realized how much I liked this episode because I wanted Fennec. I got a lot of Fennec. That's one thing that I asked for last episode. I was like, we need more of her. They're not utilizing her. So they used her a lot. I kind of wanted to get past the flashbacks a bit, which we had a lot of flashback, but seems like maybe we're kind of done with the flashback phase. The other thing is, I think, Jay, you mentioned this on a previous episode, that this is a character study, as much as it is an action plot. So like, we're getting this understanding of who he is. As much as it's like it's slow at times, it's really showing you how he changed from this cold-blooded, mysterious bounty hunter that everybody knows from before, who some people are pissed about that he's this different guy. Now, he went through all this shit. Like, this is a man who lost his father at a young age. Tuskens took him in as a family. He now has a family that he thinks of, somebody who's like loyal to him. It just changes perspective on everything. And I think that's the end goal of those first 4 episodes, was to set all that up. Now I think they're just going to I'm hoping they're just going to blow our doors off with crazy shit.
Well, there was a lot of character development that I think that we weren't ready for the first 4 episodes, right?
I agree.
I think we were looking at cool backstory shit. We were looking at like big reveals of things that were in our mindset that we were like looking for some kind of like we wanted to have like revealed, right? Like we expected that, like, oh, okay, that was truth. And now we're getting a little bit more of what's moving forward before we're getting the past with little twinkles, So they're like filling in the plot holes, but they're filling in enough to be like, look, here's an answer for what we're doing now, but not necessarily an answer of what we were expecting from between like Jango Fett and Boba Fett, right?
Yeah, and I think we all like go in with these expectations of things we want to see and what we hope to see and all that kind of thing. And when they don't happen, sometimes it's almost like our own personal disappointment we built up in our own stupid minds.
Own biases are detracting us from this show, I think.
Yeah, and I think, somebody could make the argument that like, oh, did we really need, we know sort of how Fennec ended up with Boba. Did we need to see the blow by blow? And I think in a way you did, because it really shows what formed their bond, right? And why she's loyal to him.
Yeah.
Like, why is she loyal to him? She's a bounty hunter's worked on her own for decades. Why would she all of a sudden be like loyal to somebody else? And we see why.
I thought the same thing. I was like, why are we rehashing this? We already saw all this in Mandalorian. I will say that.
Well, it's like beat for beat, just before or after. This is like bookends to Mandalorian.
And I think you guys would be proud of me because
I am.
Every day.
Thanks, guys.
I think about you with pride.
Your support's what I strive for. So Mandalorian was 5 years after Return of the Jedi, right? Mm-hmm. So how did that 5 years happen so quickly from him dropping in the Sarlacc pit?
He must have been with the Tuskens for a long time.
Right, because there's a mention when him and Fennec are in the ship where he says something about the years I spent, he says. Mm-hmm. So it kind of gives, I guess, a loose explanation of like that time frame. Like we've seen beats, but we've not experienced, and like right now it seems as like a collective audience we're already complaining about the fucking beats that we're getting. So for him to say that, be like, well, I guess it's lucky that we're getting the beats that we are, because we're already complaining about the little bits that we're getting as a character development rather than the 5 fucking years we get to spend.
Yeah, so, you're welcome. We didn't show you all 5 years or 4 years or whatever of me being with the Tuskens.
But there is a part of me that respects the fact that, like, I mean, there's a lot of weight on Favreau as a writer, right? For him to be like, to go into this and to spend 4 hours to really take his time and show, like, beat by beat and these slow moments and this buildup of this character, and none of it really is what we were expecting, right? So here we are at the end of it, and after these 4 episodes, I'm looking at it, I was like, you know what? Like, as a whole, I think we did need this, because there's a lot that's been filled in over the years via the Legends lines or what we've expected as truth or wanted as truth, and now we're getting these moments filled in. None of it what we were kind of expecting, right? The fucking episode opens up with the Sarlacc pit, which I was guessing they were going to tease that for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And every time they've gone to the Sarlacc pit, it's been kind of like I get it. Why spend so much time with it when we've all lived with it for all these years? Like, all we have to show is a few little minutes and really the important moments, and then move on. And that's difficult as a viewer because I want more, but like in the end, like when looking back, I don't need more.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disciplined approach to telling the story. Yeah. I wonder if Rodriguez was on board for that from the start, because the episode he got to do for Mandalorian, it was Boba hot out of the gate, like whooping ass, doing all this crazy shit. And so I wonder if they're like, okay, so we're going to really need to back up a little bit and show how you got to this point as a person. Because I remember when we watched The Mandalorian and he like all of a sudden showed this like honor code of like, I'm going to help you get Grogu. Like at no monetary gain to himself, but like he felt like he needed to do that. Now you know why. Now you understand why he has a changed
his loyalty
perspective.
The same as what he offers Fennec. And what he's doing, and
that changes her perspective.
Yeah, right, and that whole him offering all of that in The Mandalorian was toward the end of this episode. After he gives his explanation, well, I will offer you loyalty. I will offer you a piece of whatever that I get when I'm taking on as leaving the Boba Fett or leaving the bounty hunter and becoming a crime lord. So like all of that makes sense. Like there's a lot of you really have to fill in a lot of the blanks between this episode and Mandalorian and coming back the first 3 episodes. So there's like kind of a lot of mental work, but there's kind of some respect that I give Favreau for like willing to be like, you know what, like I'm not going to cut and paste all of this for you.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those where if we get to next episode and it's just to blow your doors off like action-packed fucking adventure, which I'm assuming we're going to start seeing some of that. All that stuff pays off.
Yeah.
It's just that going through the first 4 episodes, you're like, you really want to get on with it. You know, you're so impatient. And so now I'm hoping it will all make sense in the end because they spent that time to develop these characters instead of just rushing and going, here's the action.
I think like I don't mind the character growth. I don't mind all the backstory. I don't mind the slow buildup. I don't mind all the history and all that.
It's just the teeth.
It's just the teeth.
It's just the teeth. And no, it's just the Mandalorian was like that quite a bit too. There was a lot of like, it was some slow points to it. There was some side mission stuff. There was a lot of like.
There was a different expectation though,
but
right?
Mandalorian looks so fucking beautiful. This looks like clunky and ugly at times. Like like there's 1 or 2 parts in every episode where you're just like, come on, this doesn't look good. Like feeding the bantha the rotisserie loath cat that he had there.
Something you've never seen before.
And like the mouth, it looked like the Jaws attraction. I was like, what is going on? Like, the animatronics here.
Don't you buy that as the like? I think that's on purpose, right? That is them trying to. No, I think that's them trying to pay tribute to what because if they're trying to fit this into the timeline of what we've seen before, so they're tying it back to the special effects that existed 30 years ago. I think it's on purpose.
I don't.
You have a point. My point or my thought on that was just that I can turn a blind eye to it because it's a practical effect, and I'm always on board for practical effects versus like overdoing CGI.
But when it comes to a chase scene, we do not forgive.
No, as stupid as that fucking tongue moving around in his mouth looked, you know, I was like, well, that's fine. In the face. Yeah, I was like, that's fine because this is like old school practical effect, and I'm okay with it. I'll let that pass, no problem. You know what I mean? So it didn't bother me. But I could see what you mean.
It didn't take me out of it, but it's like you can't compare how beautiful The Mandalorian looked. And
I agree with that. The Mandalorian was tighter, I think. Very
tight. Yep, very tight and like tight like a tiger.
I'd be interested to go back and watch the first season of Mandalorian now after we've watched this because I feel like there were some complaints with The Mandalorian that we had.
There were.
But they were more forgivable because we were like, where are we going here? And this, there's a much higher expectation. And it's a much story. It's a slower story building on purpose, right? So and some of this is like, if I look back at like what were our predictions before we went into this. And a lot of it was me. Like I'm just like, well, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. Why wouldn't this happen? This has happened, right? Yeah. And maybe that was my fault for spilling on you guys. But now we're like. Are we kind of let down because, and not because like we haven't gotten all of it, but because the expectation was, well, this is the Book of Boba Fett. Each episode is going to feed us a little bit of these things, and we've really fed none of those, but we're getting a lot of like I said teasingly before, like this is really like the Game of Thrones version of Star Wars. Like they are really fucking taking their time building this character, building the world around him, and things are slowly building. But there's a lot of respect to that because like instead of us having like this teeny bit of knowledge for each little thing, and then we got to fill in the fucking gaps. Maybe for the first time we don't have to fill in the gaps because there's so much given to us. But with that, we have to take a slower ride.
Yes, the Mandalorian was a character we didn't know, and so we probably had more patience with them fleshing that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Versus with Boba, we're like, we kind of know this guy. We just, we want to get on and see him kick ass and do all these things, so that happens. Then the other part of that is, like you said, and everybody does it. You come into a show, especially a show where it's a character that you know, and you have these expectations. And then it's like, okay, so if it doesn't meet your expectations, are you disappointed that it doesn't meet your expectations? If it does, now that's fan service. So it's like, you kind of can't win either way.
Right.
Yeah.
In the end, I've been trying to just be patient with this show because I know it is not a perfect show. It has its faults. I've been kind of trying to focus on, the good stuff they've shown us with the idea that they're going to come around and this thing's going to all work out better. In the long run, you just have to wait for the whole thing to come through.
Yeah, I'm not disappointed by any means. I'm enjoying watching this. It's still a good show. It's just not like on par with what I was expecting to. But it's got to flesh out still. You got to keep your judgment in reserve for the last half of the season.
I talked to my brother last night and he said, I turned it off halfway through episode 2. I just couldn't do it. And I said, I understand. You probably saved yourself by not watching episode 3 because I don't think you would have enjoyed it. But I said, if it all kind of comes around and really improves, I'm going to let you know because I think you might want to dip back in, especially this. I think the last, especially 2 episodes are going to be massive. But we'll get into that when we get into what's next because there's a lot to.
Yeah, let's break this thing down.
Yeah, let's pick this baby apart.
Yeah, so we start right away with the flashback to Tank. And, Boba's riding the bantha again.
I mean, it really picks up where the last shot where he was riding the bantha and it turns to like a green color and fades away. This time we get the green color and it fades back in. So we're picking up right where we left off.
Yeah, it's almost like this grainy thing where you're coming into view of what, the vision is. And so he's scouting out Jabba's palace looking for his ship. I don't know that we know that yet.
Right.
We just know that he's scouting out the
looking
palace.
for an entryway into the back door that seems to be pretty guarded at the time.
That's the back door, right? I was thinking about that too. I was like, I was trying to figure out the layout of it, but I was like, that's not the front door that they come in through.
Because the front door drops down from the ceiling, right?
Yes, right.
And then the back door comes down from the floor and closes to the ceiling.
Right. You guys are very astute with your observation powers.
I think that was the differential to me. And I've never seen other than a couple of the Gamorrean guards hanging out on the inside of the door when the door opens, like Return of the Jedi and whatnot. Like this seems to have a lot of people, and we finally find out where the fucking parking lot is.
Yes, exactly. That's how
door of the episode. Yeah,
parking in the rear.
Along.
Yeah, parking in the rear.
I got the jealous ex-boyfriend vibe, like staring through the fucking scope, looking at all
Who
of
are
them,
these bitches?
staring at the palace.
They can't love her like I do.
Yeah.
So he's like too many guards. So we get this fireside scene where this is the thing that Cole was talking about, where he's eating dinner and he chucks the food to the bantha, and the bantha's like wagging its tail, like full on dog mode.
Yep.
Did you guys notice they're seeming to make like this over the top point to he has this affinity towards creatures, like animals.
He is like the Tatooine whisperer.
Well, I feel like that's gonna like circle back to Nicolas Cage's remark. Nicolas Cage, Jesus.
Oh, what are we going?
Nick Nolte.
Whoa.
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte's remark in The Mandalorian, where he said,
the Ugnaught.
The Ugnaught, where he said, "You rode the great mythosaur." The Mandalorians rode the great mythosaur.
Yes. So right when the last episode, when he was like, "I want to ride one of these. I've rode bigger creatures before. Teach me how to." Yes.
I feel like that's gonna flesh out at some point, and he's supposed to be some sort of like Saint Francis of Assisi type fucking creatures come to him. Ace Ventura, maybe.
Dr. Doolittle.
Dr. Doolittle.
I want to see that episode of Boba Fett where he goes home and calls out all the creatures, and they come out from everywhere.
They all gonna put his. Well, we know he can't put his own armor on, so it's gonna be a group of parrots like bringing his armor or dressing him. In his
don't use cats. You get clawed.
A sarlacc pit opens up from the kitchen floor and starts putting his boots on. His tongue.
So then we see the flares that were in Mando season 1, and I don't think I noticed the first time I watched the music, just a little tick of the music when the flares happened from the Mando. So I wasn't 100% sure what was going to happen when I saw those flares, and then it becomes more obvious.
When did your heart skip a beat and you thought, "Oh my God, am I going to see my ex-lover?"
No, I was
Calican?
like, okay, so we know it's Mando and that no talent ass clown fucking Toro, and I thought, well, maybe we'll get to see his dead body again. I'd be up for that. I'd like to see him dead again.
Piss on his
So
face.
this really is an episode that like bookends. Was it episode 5 of The Gunslinger, which is season 2 of The Mandalorian?
Season 1. Yeah, season 1. Because remember, we hadn't seen Boba yet.
No, it's season 1 when we see Fennec, and then it bookends the back end of season 2 Toro's not in season 1.
Yes, he is. That's episode 5 of season 1.
Oh, and then we pick up another season later where we finally see the answer, whether that's, yes, okay, Boba, yes.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, though, because at the end of the episode where they fucking tie it in and you see him walking up to Fennec or whatever, you don't hear the spurs, yeah. I was looking for that.
Did you not hear the spurs? I felt like I heard it. Maybe I need to go watch it again. But
I did not. I was almost like I turned it up because I was like,
okay,
are we gonna hear spurs this time? And to me, I did not.
Okay, I was thinking when he was going to walk up, I thought, he doesn't have spurs on.
Yeah, I know.
I remember him having spurs on.
Yep.
And so I thought I heard him, and I was like, oh, but they just made it sound like he had spurs on. Maybe I heard it wrong. So
Cole, be the
tiebreaker?
Yeah.
Tiebreaker.
I don't have any clue.
Spurs or no spurs? Was it in the captions?
Are you in?
Spurs sound.
Okay.
Ching, ching, ching. I would say no spurs. I don't think
Yeah.
there.
I didn't hear any.
So he goes out there and rides out to investigate and comes upon her body. And then he picks her up, takes her to this like mod shop on the outskirts of Mos Eisley. What did you guys think of this whole scene?
Lizard skin tattoo and mods parlor is what I call it. I thought it was fine. It's kind of cool that he saw the mods before they were. He kind of had met with the mods before, right? Like
Right, so it makes sense that he was aware of them.
Yeah. That's what they end up calling that little group of modified humans. They're the mods now. I think Fennec nicknames them.
I mean, I think he's just called the modifier, right?
Yes.
The dangling modifier.
In the caption, it says
The
modifier.
Grammy award-winning modifier.
That's right. I liked how the characters didn't say a word. Like he comes up and they're all just looking at him like, the fuck is this? That one guy's got the crazy like, I'm gonna dilate my pupils or whatever, like little button on the side of his thing.
The Moskatons.
Exactly. Then he walks inside, and as he's carrying her inside, they showed 2 characters off to the side that are kind of staring at him. One of those is Ming-Na Wen's son.
Oh wow.
Oh, is that her son? The one that has like the large trench coat on and the small side chest piece, side patch of the Darth Vader breathe patch?
Oh, I didn't notice that, I guess.
It basically looks like a miniature chest piece, but on the side of him. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
That's her son, huh? Okay.
I just liked how there wasn't chatter. It was just like they all were just like, who's this fucking guy? And he walks in, and then, of course, the guy's like, aren't you a little old to be in here?
Yeah.
Gramps.
A little too far along before we modify you.
You got to be under 30 to get a mod here, bud.
But it sort of reminded me in a way of like the beginning of season 2 of The Mandalorian, when kind of showing that underbelly when the Mandalorian walks into that Gamorrean fight club. It kind of had that similar vibe to it, you know? Like, I like that when they show this kind of gritty Star Wars stuff like this.
Well, yeah, I would venture to guess, I haven't looked this up yet, but I feel like I did look up because I wanted to know who the modifier was, because he looked very familiar, and I guess he wasn't. I know I've seen this guy before because, like, the way that he moves his mouth and his teeth, and there was something about, like, the way he was not an actor. Something was like, I was like, who is this guy? And I guess a couple years ago he won a Grammy as some award-winning bassist for something. He's called, whatever his name is, quote, the Thundercat.
Yeah, it's Steven Bruner. He used to be in Suicidal Tendencies as well.
Oh, okay.
So he's been around quite a while.
I completely recognized the face, even though I could not place it from anything.
Well, and he's got this fucking Swiss Army knife of an arm. That was a pretty cool little thing that he switches to. It's got a pizza cutter on there.
Well, even the first arm he had was the it looked like it was from the
Alien?
The bots that steal Yoda. The Baby Yoda. What are the
It's not Dark Troopers. What is it?
Yes.
Not Death Troopers.
Robo Troopers, something shit like that. But I mean, he had like one of those arms that he fucking completely like just like turns a left and pulls off, and he puts the Swiss Army surgery knife on.
Yeah.
He's like, let me fix her for a couple of credits.
And it was funny because somebody said, oh, isn't that cool? Like, once he found out that she was dying, that's when he decided to stop what he was doing and help her. And I was like, are you sure it wasn't the bag of money?
It was the bag of money.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think it was the bag of money.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have started with that.
So he goes to work on her, and you see this crazy scene where he's like, rebuilding her stomach and her innards. And I thought that was a fun scene. I thought it was cool to see how they put her together.
I mean, I guess without just realizing now, this episode is basically a prequel to The Mandalorian. I guess most of the show is, but this episode, because we've seen elements of other things in The Mandalorian, and this episode like ties almost like there's multiple episodes of The Mandalorian you've had to have seen to fill in the holes by the time you're done with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then so she wakes up. I don't know if she's on Vicodin or anything, but she should be, because I can't imagine going through a surgery like that and coming to and being like, oh my God, I want to die.
Yeah. I like how he's like, try the black melon roasted. He's got it like roasting by the fire. He's like, it's a delicacy.
Just off the Keurig.
He goes, you'll start to crave it. And I was like thinking to myself, like, do they really know how like addictive it is? Maybe she's going to be sucking dick for credits in Anchorhead to try to get her black melon fucking fix here in no time.
Well, so she just starts asking questions immediately, and he's trying to explain to her that, you were dying of a gut shot and I saved you. And, that's what she looks down and is like, what the fuck did you do to me? And then she's like, I do have abs of steel now. Literally.
Yep, she literally does. And what's his answer to it? I am Boba Fett.
Exactly. And she's like, no, you're not. He's dead. But yes, that's the first instance of I am Boba Fett in this episode. There's many more to come. But yeah, so then I love it because he's like, she says, I'll double your bounty. You know who she said that to?
She said that too, or someone has said that to her?
She said it to Boba Fett. She said, I'll double your bounty. And he's like, I'm not interested in money. You know who else she said that to?
No.
I'm trying to think.
Fucking asshole Toro Calican. Same thing. Same exact line.
She said that to Toro?
Yes, he's got her in cuffs, and she's like, hey, she's trying to sweet talk him out of it, going like, hey, if you turned in that Mandalorian, you're going to get a lot of cred for that.
Yeah.
But at first she says, I'll double your bounty. He says, I don't want money. I'm after like the rep. And so same thing. So she clearly is somebody who is like, everybody's motivated by money, right? She kind of doesn't understand why these people aren't accepting her money.
Well, even when we come to the campfire scene where there's an explanation that wins her over, it seems to be up until that moment, money is what keeps her as a contractor.
Independent contractor.
Yes.
Independent contractor, right.
Yes.
She's right off the bat skeptical about he starts to explain about how the Tuskens get destroyed by the speeder bike gang.
Yes.
She's like, that doesn't seem very plausible. So they had to have been teaming up with somebody.
The Pikes did it and made it look like them. I'm telling you, that's what it is.
I'm assuming that's what it is.
It has to be.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, that line is to tell us that's what happened. The Pikes are trying to.
So do you think
that.
the Sophie Thatcher character is going to come back later and then be like, there's going to be a whole different from a certain point of skew moment where she explains like, well, we were doing this at the time. We never did anything to the Tuskens, and then that's what we'll find out. What they were never involved.
No.
It was just the Pikes.
So her crew wasn't the one who did it. It was the Nikto Riders that did it. The Nikto Riders put their symbol on the Tusken village after they destroyed it. But the Pikes are the ones who I think did it and then made it look like it was the Nikto Riders.
But are the Nikto Riders born from the leftovers of that biker group?
I don't think so.
Because
those are totally separate.
It's a few years difference.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, so he's basically kind of ropes her into, hey, I'm trying to go get my ship from Mandalore back, my fire spray class.
Yeah, it's no longer the Slave One.
No longer Slave One.
Bullshit.
No, that's not true. He just says it's a fire spray gunship. He doesn't say it. This is not Slave One.
Why would you not call it Slave One, Disney?
Because how would she know? How would she know what Slave One is?
Well, he's the most famous bounty hunter in the game.
Right. If she knows who Boba Fett is, she knows what the Slave One is.
The ship was never named ever before in an actual Star Wars movie. Nobody ever said the name Slave One before. I think he's just saying like, "Hey, I need to go get my Chrysler LeBaron." You know what I mean?
I think you. I think you are. Welcome to the woke Star Wars community.
Oh, come on. It's not that at all. First of all, I don't think anybody gives a shit about the name at all.
I do.
Really.
I do.
On StarWars.com, it still shows Slave One as the fucking name of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was intentional, though.
I think
you don't think that was intentional?
the audience out.
No, I think it's more that he was saying like he's telling her what kind of ship. It's like Han wouldn't say I need to get the Millennium Falcon. He would say I need my fucking Corellian. No, he wouldn't though, because how does somebody necessarily know what the Millennium Falcon is? I'm just saying you don't say the name of your fucking ship. You say what kind of ship it is so people understand.
Who fucking bought and sold you?
You guys, this is such a dumb argument. It is not. It is. Nobody cares about Slave One.
Well, I think they're avoiding the there was like a little mini controversy that came up over it. I think they're trying to avoid the controversy.
Nobody cares about Slave One. Look, I don't. Like in the grand scheme of things, because of the name. Oh, well, that means something else. Okay, I get that, but like I do care in the fact that it was named Slave One, and now since Disney has bought it, they're afraid to call it Slave One because of what it might represent from the past.
The only thing that has referenced it as anything but Slave One is like a Lego set.
Yep. And it was
that says Jabba's ship. Then. Right. So I don't think you could say they're avoiding saying it, I guess, but they didn't change the name.
Wasn't there an interview recently with Timura where he kind of came out and admitted that it will just be called a fire spray ship instead of the Slave One from now on?
I didn't hear that. Okay. I just think that it's overblown.
We should really dig into this, I think, is what we should do.
In fact, I think we should spend probably we should have a bonus episode where we take emails from listeners. Yeah. We're really going to settle this, Disney.
When we're really struggling for content.
Our lawyers are going to contact your lawyers.
So they go to a little scout mission outside of Jabba's palace. We get to see the little bits of her arsenal, Fennec's arsenal. She's got that little surveillance droid that goes in, little surveillance sphere.
Which looks exactly like the giant medical droid that's going to poke Leia.
Oh, kind of like a smaller version?
I thought it was like a smaller version of the practice droid with Luke with the lightsaber.
Okay. It just kind of looked like it was a mini Death Star with red dots.
Okay.
Yeah.
It kind of moved more like the training thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of shifted around.
Mm-hmm.
The blast shield down. How am I supposed to see? So then he lets his bantha go free. There's a whole moment where he sets it free and sends it off. And like I'm thinking about that. Like Fennec's like, well, aren't you a little premature in letting that thing go? And he's like, well, I'll either get my ship back or I die. And then she's kind of like, well, what about me? Like
I might need that bantha.
I might need that bantha. Right. I'm not going all in. Like maybe you go in and die and I get away, and then I need to ride back to fucking a bantha ride.
Well, and then he kind of explains. At that point, while they're waiting for that drone to come back, he explains to her she's like, what are you going to do next? Well, I'm going to get my armor. I'm going to murder Bib Fortuna. I'm going to take his throne. So he sets his goals, which he accomplishes all his goals in the end. And she is like, what do you mean? You're going to like take over a family? Like, what are you talking about? She still doesn't understand why he doesn't want to just go back to bounty hunting.
She calls it a Gatra. You're going to head a Gatra, she says. Gotra. And then he mentions that Bib Fortuna double-crossed him. I'm trying to figure out where he double-crossed him. Did you guys see that? He's like, that big bloated pig.
The only thing I can come to is he was the one that brought him in to be on the barge of the time. And then whatever happened, and he was dumped into the Sarlacc pit.
Maybe they had an informal pact, like, hey, if one of us falls in on accident,
the other one jumps in?
Yeah, the other one goes and gets him.
Real Romeo and Juliet thing.
He's like, it just slipped my mind. My phone alarm never went off.
Then when the drone comes back, it's tagged the whole place like you were looking through your binoculars in a sniper video game. It's got like all the little like guards marked with red.
That was fucking awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so the droid's coming through and is going to film a little video, or I thought at the time maybe she was watching what it was seeing. And then when it comes back and it kind of builds the hologram, and it actually, the second time I was watching, I actually realized like if you watch as it's going through the tunnel, the hologram version as it's building, it shows that it's scanning the hallways.
Right.
And it's building the map as it's going. And I was like, oh, this is pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah. No, I thought that was awesome. And then, but of course, he's like, too many guards. You know, he's still too many guards. Yeah, so she's like, we're gonna go in quiet, and that's when they go in, and she does this little like cut on the grates of like a drain tunnel or something like that.
Did you guys get the parallel? Was I way off with the pictures that I showed you in our chat with Conan the Destroyer guy?
Yeah,
you guys remember that?
What did you reference that guy to? Which one? Which character?
It was the same guy that was in when they had the families met. They got the same like exact face. I don't know what his lineage was.
I figured you were representing one of those, but I didn't look back to see which one you meant.
Well, it looked like. Have you seen Conan the Destroyer? You've seen it.
It's been a long time.
But not 180
That's the
times
second
in a
one.
year.
The second one, yes.
Yeah,
it's the guy
it's been a long time.
He turns into the wizard. Turns into that thing. It looks just like one of those. And then they go in through the tunnel, just like in Conan the Destroyer. That's the same exact scene. Like they go into that little breaking through the bars type scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching here, but I got some Conan the
Is
Destroyer.
Conan the Destroyer the one where he goes in with the blonde gal and they sneak in and
Yeah,
or
it's
is that
got Wilt Chamberlain in it too.
okay? Yeah.
Nielsen. Bridget Nielsen.
Yeah, I think I'm conflating the two.
Sylvester Stallone's wife at the time.
She was in it?
Bridget Nielsen was the
mother?
Wasn't she Red Sonja?
You're thinking of another.
But she was Bridget
No,
Nielsen.
I think you're thinking of Red Sonja, which is different.
Right, but okay, you're right. But I think Bridget Nielsen was in. She was in the one with Conan.
Grace Jones was in it.
Yeah.
So Bridget Nielsen was in Red Sonja.
I think you're correct. Grace Jones was in Conan the Destroyer.
Okay, all right.
Glad we cleared that up.
Yeah.
You're welcome, guys.
Listeners were on the fucking edge of their seat. They needed this solved.
So they come into the kitchen, and that's when Boba knocks out that one droid that comes over to check, and then who comes over to take him on? Wait for it.
Kitchen Grievous.
No, General Cleavous.
General Cleave. I went with Kitchen Grievous. It was basically a Black and Decker fucking Pecker Wrecker version of General Grievous.
I've seen people say Chef Grievous and all this stuff.
There
I'm
we
like,
go.
no, it's General Cleavous, man. He's got cleavers in his
He
hands.
does, yeah. He's just a giant fucking salad maker.
Were we wrong that the torture droid that we were saying from the beginning, the protocol droid that's been talking to Boba, the black droid that was in there looked like the torture droid?
He was part of that.
He was
same
like the
scene.
head honcho. He was the guy who is like spitting out orders to everybody. But the guy who actually tortured the Gonk droid was 8D8.
Yes.
And also, Gonk droids are basically like a live Claymore, just in case you guys wanted to know.
I know.
Well, it depends on if they have fuel in them.
I guess
There's
so.
some Gonk droid fans out there that are going to be real upset with Fennec for doing that.
Also, it took me a bit out of it because that fat fuck Bib Fortuna, he's not eating like the Mediterranean diet, and they were doing like chopped up kale. They had like a nice spread going in there.
True. That was for the rest of the group.
That must have been for
So
somebody
that was
else.
not his meal.
Yeah, they were serving him fucking straight up fucking barbecue Rancor. He was eating good.
Deep fried with a
Yeah.
cream cheese.
He bought the gift of fucking Bleachy or Welchy or what's his name?
Which one?
What was the baby Rancor they got?
Oh,
Oh,
Moochie.
Moochie.
Moochie, yeah.
Yeah,
They got
right.
Moochie just so they could fucking feed him,
Cook him?
get him fat, and then cook him so he could feed
They're
his fat
treating him.
ass.
He's like a veal. He's like a veal rancor. Baby rancor. It's a delicacy. Along with
So
the
then
roasted coconut.
Fennec sneaks up behind Cleavous and just decapitates him.
That was
which
kind of
pretty
like,
nice.
but it was funny because they did it like one of those fucking scenes you would see like in Conan or whatever, where like the assassin comes up behind and slits the throat, but it's just this tiny little pipe on a robot,
right, and then
she
just goes,
but
and then
she
falls.
does the whole cuts it from behind and lets it just like die slowly.
So with Cleavous out of the way, in comes this droid that we saw in Clone Wars before. And I actually really like the way they did this droid. He was cool looking. But he comes to try to find the rat that they thought maybe was in the kitchen.
He's the rat catcher.
He's the rat catcher. And then it turns into like Ratatouille. Yeah, all of a sudden it's just this like crazy, stupid kitchen chase.
Do you know who
scene.
this fucking droid is?
Who?
I believe he's the same fucking droid that's serving that goddamn fruit from the last episode, which causes the goddamn droids to go to spa day.
No.
Yes.
Really?
It's the same episode where they're serving the fruit to whoever
They had to go get it. I thought they had to
is
go
it
get something for
Padme?
dessert.
Padme's having it's a
Yeah.
big dessert tray,
Right.
And they're gonna bring out. And it's the same.
Is that what that
droid.
droid's from? I knew it was from
there's a
Clone Wars. I
couple
just
of
couldn't
them.
remember when.
There's a couple of them that are carrying
Oh, okay.
platters, and they're going
There
to
you
go
go.
out and serve it to the table.
Yep,
and
that makes
you see
sense.
it looks like a 7-tier cake with
Yeah.
what's the name of the spiky fruit?
Melun.
Yeah,
Melun.
those are on the top, and those are the same fruit that they end up sending because they get destroyed. So they send the droids R2 and C-3PO to go get right, and
Right.
then they end up at the fucking spa day.
Yeah, R2 gets.
So I'm like, I'm
gets
haunted.
R2 gets a happy ending.
It doesn't leave me.
Yeah.
He's a cute little bugger, though.
But he was, and my favorite thing is first of all, he chokeholds the motherfucking 2-foot droid to the wall and
Yeah.
lets him know who he is, and then the droid's like, you know what? I'm just gonna
Turn
hit the
myself
off
off.
switch.
Yeah.
I like
And I
it.
love how he drops him like you can just turn him back on.
Yeah,
if you want
I've
to.
never seen that. I was like, he opens up his guts and he's like off.
It was looked like a surge protector switch. I'm like,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
was-
100%. Yeah.
Technology's a
He's
little
got the
behind.
big old ears, but like it was really reminding me of like a Looney Tunes episode, like back in the day. Like instead of like the animal being hunted and runs through the hollow log to the other side, he runs underneath the stove that's burning.
Yeah.
There's like this tunnel that he can just get through, and then
Right.
he's like running through the kitchen, and I'm like, what am I watching, Tom and Jerry? And then fucking Boba Fett, the scariest bounty hunter in the world, is just like chasing this thing with his bare hands and can't catch it. It's ridiculous.
So they find their way to the hangar, and that's where they find Slave One. No comment. And Boba isn't sure whether he should cry or jerk off. He sees it and he's just like, "Oh my god, this is beautiful."
I've
so
missed
excited.
you. Can't wait to
Still
get
here.
Can't wait to get alone in the back tube with you.
But here come the Gam guards, and we get a nice little fight scene with Fennec and Boba. They just, dispatch of them pretty quickly. But the alarm is sounded.
She's a no-scope fucking queen, man.
She's fucking awesome. This is the best scene with her. This is so great.
100%. She's just left like hip firing that thing. Well, actually, she's kind of shouldering it, but she snaps up, just like snap fires everything, and she's just
like headshots all day.
Yeah, dead on every single time.
This is like this is Fennec from the episode of Mandalorian where it was like her and the women's brigade, and they were just like
smoking fools.
Yeah.
This is a master class of ass kicking.
And even but there's a little bit of like, I get a little put off by her because I get that she's a badass, but I don't need like I am Liam Neeson badass look at the camera every fucking time.
Well, she's out there just fucking handling business. He's in there dicking around trying to get out. And he's like, I can't see it. I can't see a thing.
Climb in the chair.
And then he has the audacity. She's like, raise the ramp. And he's like, I hope you know what you're doing.
But we have to remember
fucking
they haven't
dick.
worked together yet.
Like,
so
he's
I think
such
that
a
was
that's a second ungrateful thing he says in the episode. Later on, she pushes the button and saves him from the fucking Sarlacc
don't touch
pit.
my buttons.
Don't touch my buttons.
Yeah, it's Gramps in there. He's like, I can't see anything. Like, oh my god, do I have to do everything, you fucking old man?
Right.
So she snipes the counterweight, and I don't know. You guys tell me, was it the back door or the front door that opens?
It was
up?
the back door.
Okay, because
Back
it came
door?
from the top down, or okay.
Well, but first she does that sweet flip move on that guy, the last guy that jumped on.
Like, I had to watch that a couple of times because I'm like, okay, where does physics play into this? Because she went like triple Black Widow on this dude.
It was
a
crazy.
lucha libre. She went Rey Mysterio Jr. on him.
I mean, she went like, I'm going to somersault over him, and then she did a flip through him, and then she came back up. She did a turnaround, and then flipped back through and flipped him.
And then and then shot the counterbalance. This all happened in like 3 seconds.
That's a crazy
Like,
fucking
Jesus,
move
man.
she's got going on here.
She's fucking badass. And then she decides she's gonna come along for the ride. He was gonna, I'll drop you off wherever you want to go. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna come along for the ride. So she's starting to kind of warm up to the Boba lifestyle. And that's when they come upon the Nikto riders, and he
Sweetest
just
scene.
fucking decimates them.
That's the sweetest scene of the whole episode when you see it come in out of the clouds.
Yes.
And like here it comes. I'm like, oh, he's gonna get him.
Uh-huh.
But it kind of reminded me of the episode or the Blue Harvest from the Family Guy, where he's like, none of them try to like do any evasive maneuvers. They just stay on.
Stay
we're
in
just gonna
line.
keep going
Yeah.
straight.
He's like, well, don't worry, I know a few maneuvers, and the Millennium Falcon slowly drifts to the left a little bit. It's like, well, is that it? That's all you know? But yeah, he like unloads on him with a photon torpedo.
You just,
and
they're done with him pretty quickly.
and then he heads
Yeah.
to the Sarlacc pit looking for his
Right.
armor.
And I got to
Apparently-
say, the shots of Slave One like going in like daylight on Tatooine were gorgeous.
Yes.
Like all the shots of it when it goes and like rotates and hovers over the Sarlacc, all that stuff I thought was the visuals on that maybe the best visuals of this entire series so far.
And he starts playing peekaboo with the Sarlacc, like he's going to look for his armor. But
What did you think
apparently-
he was gonna do there? Come on.
I don't know.
Like I if there's anyone in the show that's gonna do it, let it be me. But like, was there a moment where it like reminded you of like a teenager like looking into a vag for the first time?
Very confused.
It was a very, very like slow peekaboo into the hole.
What vaginas are you looking at?
No,
that look like
it was
that?
just like an odd fucking
question.
like. I'm like, what are we doing here?
He's revealing some personal experiences here.
I mean, like all of us have played doctor.
Well, my thing was, the first thing he's looking into the Sarlacc pit. I was like, apparently he's still under the effects of the anesthesia because he doesn't remember being raped by the Jawas on the sands of Tatooine.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't remember that. Now, granted, he was like totally out of it and got his ass knocked out and probably was concussed after that shot to the face.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
feel like it
possible he
was a
doesn't
rough
remember it.
day for him. So I'm gonna like I saw some complaints on the webs about the fact that like how does he not remember? Like he clearly was awake when the Jawas knocked him out and took the armor from him. I'm like, well, he might have been awake, but there was a little bit of fucking trauma there. Like
It would have been funny if when he got pulled out, he's like, "Oh, fuck right. The Jawas
Now
took it from me. I totally forgot. Why'd we come here?"
Yeah, I had to crawl out of the hole myself again for the second time to remember. I've crawled out of the hole the first time.
It triggers his memory.
Well, and that you get the jump scare from the Sarlacc, but that move she does where she unbuckles herself and is like
That was
right on
pretty
top of the
cool.
glass with the thing behind her. That was a pretty cool scene.
Yeah.
And then it's one of those things that happens in Star Wars and other science fiction shows where you're like, how did she know that was the button?
Well, other than the fact that it was the only one making noise.
I guess so. Because the ship knew, hey, you might want to use one of these seismic charges.
She's familiar with one of the most famous ships in the galaxy.
She was familiar with Boba Fett, so maybe.
So and then we get the cool. I love that sound effect, the seismic charge thing.
That's
it's
the
pretty
best.
badass. Yeah.
Although, like, I feel like it was almost like as an audience member, right? Like, finally, this motherfucker deserved it, right? When you see the Sarlacc pit just get like decimated.
Yeah.
And ripple the sand and everything. You're
its
like,
arms are hanging off.
Yeah,
the
it's
ship,
almost like, well, you saw that coming.
Matt, you should get the Sarlacc pit, pull the audio for it, and then whenever we want to kill Mike Laybourne on the show, we just that'll be our
You're
inside
responsible
joke.
for Mike Laybourne drops, not me.
All right, I'll do it. I'll send it to you. So like, here's Mike Laybourne. We just
slow motion
code.
seismic bomb drop.
And then a blurg sound effect after it.
Yeah. I thought overall, like, it was the first time I watched it kind of slow moving, right? And the second time I watched it slow but like purposeful. Like,
and
it
with your hand
filled
in
in a
your
lot of
pants.
gaps. It meant a lot. Like, it was I really I liked that they went back there. I like that, like, he kind of got to face what almost murdered him and killed it. Like, for all these years that we thought the Sarlacc pit destroyed him, murdered him, killed him, how did he survive
A lot of closure in this episode.
Exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
He can move on. He doesn't need to go see his therapist this week. He's worked through a lot of issues.
Just a back to tube one more time.
Well, he's clear. He pops out of the back to tank, and they're like, "Oh, congratulations, you're fully healed now." So no more flashbacks apparently going on, unless he gets really hurt.
Yeah, at least not until they find another MacGuffin.
Well, last thing, just before we get to that, really quick, I just want to say the one thing that was interesting was their conversation where he's basically offering her to join him.
Yes.
And he's like, I need somebody with brains and brawn. You have both. Like, come work for me. And she's tempted. And she's like, oh, the Tuscans made you soft. And he's like, no, it's the opposite. They actually made me strong. And that's where you realize the whole thing of, like, the guy had a family. They were with him for, he's with them for a long time. And it left a huge imprint on him. So just want to mention that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yes, wakes up from the back to tank. You're healed.
Yep.
So no more back to. He's probably like, "Are you sure? I could keep using it though, right? Like, for
really
ongoing
nice
maintenance."
in there.
I sleep really good in there.
Great on my teeth.
So he.
Sorry.
9 out of 10 dentists recommend it back to think.
I was left for dead on the seas of Tatooine with only this ball of floss and a water pick. Sorry, go ahead.
So he comes out of the tank and immediately says sense of urgency. He's like, war is imminent. He needs to head to the Oasis and show his face, right? And he gets there, and we get this little weird offshoot for the episode of Chrysanthemum fucking out there just like watching the Trandoshans having fun at the roulette table. And apparently he doesn't like that for some reason.
Yeah, you know why?
No,
They fucking hate each other. So
Yes.
Wookiees and Trandoshans hate each other because Trandoshans have been Wookiee hunters for years.
Oh, aren't they the slavers too?
Yes, they are. And
yeah,
they're
so
also,
that, like, they're the ones that were hunting back in Clone Wars when Ahsoka got stuck on that
That's
planet.
okay.
That young Dar and all that fucking shit.
his history alone, it deals with the Trandoshians, and even in what episode was it? The first episode where they were giving tributes.
Yes.
The Trandoshians,
Wookiee
they had
pelt.
the Wookiee pelt that they're giving Boba.
Oh.
So yeah, there's
okay.
at first I was like, I'm watching this, I was like, okay, so because we know the Trandoshians are one of the 3 that are responsible for a certain area in Mos Espa. So I was like, maybe there's something that ties into that. And then I just realized, no, he's just getting drunk, and this is like, fuck you, Dad.
Fuck you, Trandoshans.
I'm gonna come after you. And boy, does he decide, you know what? You do not deserve your arms.
I have a couple great screen captures that I'll share out on Twitter when I promote the episode of the eyes on those guys going like, what the fuck did I do? Like, they just look on their head.
I like the owner of the Oasis. She was like a 9
Darsa?
to start with. And now she's like a 12 because she's got a fucking mouth on her too. She's
And the white just
eloquent.
looks good on her.
She looked very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she calls him Santo. I like that. She called Black Chrysanthemum Santo.
And when is
was
she?
that like a nickname for him or something?
Yeah, so I'm gonna call him Santo from now on.
When is she gonna get on the stage and just drop a fucking gallon of water on herself and fucking what a feeling? I'm ready for it.
But the Wookiee ripping the arms off, I mean, great to see. Always good to see that. I love the crowd reaction. Did you hear them react? They were like, "Oh shit!"
Yes. I like it's basically like drunken chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum.
I call him Chrysanthemum.
Okay.
Just call him Santo.
He drunkenly disarms the Trandoshians while they're on a winning streak. So he's like, you get to have no fun here.
You never walk away from you never walk away from a table when you're on a heater.
And then she fucking like, look, before you snap this last one's back and fucking take his arms off, we're going to erase your debt. Let's just, call it good. It's been a good day. Let's all be bygones be bygones. And he's like, snap.
Yeah,
and then
never
pays
mind.
his fucking debt. He's like, fuck this noise. And walks out.
I know, boss move.
Yeah.
And the whole time, Boba's watching this, and so he follows him outside and is like, "You want to, you need a job. Why don't you come work for me?" So
some of that aggression out. So he's got him, and then it cuts to the meeting of the families. You got the Trandoshans, you got the fucking
Balchinians and the Aqualeash.
The Balchinians.
That's what I call them.
Balchinians, yeah.
Yep. And so they're all there, and he's trying to get them to, hey, I need your help with the pikeys that are coming in strong. And they're like, well, why should we help you? And then you get cue the Rancor from under the table.
That was pretty, if there was a better timing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because as they question, the fucking table rises, all this shit. And he's just like, well, let me feed you a little chicken leg.
And then they
tomahawk steak. Good boy.
They're all amenable to be like, listen, we won't double cross you. We won't get in your way, but don't get in our way. And we won't join with the pikeys.
They agree to be neutral during the war.
And
yeah, so we'll see about that.
Right.
And it comes to the end of the episode, and him and Fennec are out on the balcony talking, and he's like, I got enough credits. I just need muscle and I need brains. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, this guy must be saving his lunch money since first grade. I know, and then you hear the Mandalorian theme.
Yeah, so it made me think, well, this is going to be an easy buy because that guy, of course we know his negotiating skills are crap. They're going to go out there and be like, we'll give you 10 credits and like a Rancor hangnail. And he's like, I'm in. Yeah. Okay.
But is it just the Mandalorian or is it
Bo-Katan?
The Mandalorians?
Okay, that's a good question.
I started thinking about this and I'm like, okay, so they're all displaced right now. They're looking for a spot to recover. They need to have some home base, right? Because there's going to be a war for Mandalore at some point. So I feel like it's not just the Mandalorian. Maybe it's the Mandalorian in this episode, but Tatooine seems to be like, if they're going to go to war and they're going to win, that gives the Mandalorians a home base to regroup and recover before they go to war for Mandalore.
True. Hold on, Cole. You want to say any parting shots before you got to head out?
No, I think we're going to get we're obviously going to get the Mandalorians coming in. We're going to get some Bo-Katan, maybe, and her crew helping them out. And then just basically, I don't know. I don't have any real. I was really excited when I heard the music. So yeah. I'm excited to see how this one fleshes out.
There was a rumor about Mando Season 3 having a scene with a fuck ton of Mandalorians fighting in it. And I'm wondering, is that for Mando Season 3 or is that for Book of Boba?
There you go.
So to play onto your theory, Jay.
Okay. I just want to see big, fat, bulky Jon Favreau with a fucking Gatling gun again.
Yeah, one of my other big things is that I think you're going to see... I think there could be a whole grouping of fucking bounty hunters that we're going to get. So many that could come into play, and we can keep talking about this a little bit more, Jay. But the one I wanted to say before Cole left was, I think that's where you're going to see Chapter 6 that Filoni wrote. I don't know if he directed, but probably. That's where you're going to see... The Pikes are going to be like gathering their crew together. And they're going to be like, oh, and who did they hire? Chad.
So you think Chad Bane is
working for the Pikes?
Okay.
And he comes in, and that's when you get the Boba Chad fucking showdown.
Ooh, I like where your head's at, man. That's good. That's really good.
So do you think they'll tie in a flashback some way, just because the flashbacks have been prevalent, and we'll see the original? Yeah.
I got to roll. I gotta
thanks, Cole.
Practice.
I'm sorry I had a good day and I ran late.
Just say it, Cole. Just say it anyway.
Never tell us the odds.
There you go. Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Bye. So yeah, as far as other stuff, speculation. He mentioned Bo-Katan. Bosk could show up. I mean, fuck, Bosk could show up, and the Trandoshans could jump sides and be with the Pikes. That could happen.
Yeah.
Because it would make sense with the whole, Santo with BK. Because then he gets to fight. He gets to fight the Trandoshans, so he'll be so excited.
Right.
So I could see those two being at odds with each other. I'm hoping to see maybe Dengar. I don't know if we will. I'd love to see Embo, but that's a tough one to pull off. Or Sing's dead. I don't know. There's a lot of people that could show up. So many cameos could happen coming up. I think this next episode, which I think is going to be directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, that's my guess, because she hasn't directed an episode yet. 6 is probably Filoni, and 7's probably Rodriguez. Dank Ferrick. Shortly after Cole left the studio, the recording from Jay's end stopped, and we missed out on a couple segments of the show. So For the sake of including part of it, you're going to notice that the news segment earlier was just my end, and the Maul Bag that you're going to hear in a minute, and the outro is also just me. So skipping ahead a little bit, we'll go to the Maul Bag, again, with just my comments, but I promise I was talking to Jay when I was reading and responding to those emails. All right, let's go to the Maul Bag real quick.
Hello there.
You've got mail.
Okay. 2 emails. Thank you, folks. One is from Louis Cabral. He sent this actually last week, just right after we recorded. Hello, skewers. New year, new Book of Boba Fett. So he has not seen this latest episode. I find the show fine, but not what I was expecting. It seems like he has too few people to support him as a crime boss, and almost like they're trying to make him a good guy, as we discussed today. But I do think, I mean, that's what we kind of were getting on about with our review of the episode, was that he's a changed man. This is not the Boba Fett you met in the original trilogy. He's changed. He's had that experience with the Tuscans that reminds him that, like, it's okay to, when you have a family, that's kind of a nice thing instead of being on your own and just relying on yourself and only chasing after money. So I think he's changed. In the life of our favorite bounty hunter, which would you like to see a show about? Number 1, young Boba Fett after he lost his father. 2, Boba Fett, the early years of a bounty hunter trying to establish himself. Or 3, expert Boba Fett going on missions that established his reputation. 1 and 2 we really saw bits of already. So the third thing is the one that makes the most sense. And I mean, maybe going from about the start of Rebels-ish, like 5 BBY up to about Empire. That's that gap that I think he would have done his most damage and really earned that reputation. So that would be the interesting part to watch. I mean, maybe even between A New Hope and Empire would be the time to watch, somewhere in there. Just a quick note to let you know I'm really enjoying the podcast. Keep up the great work. Louis Cabral, a.k.a. Clockwork Owl. Thank you, Louis. We have a second email, and it is...
Hi, I'm Date Mike. Nice to meet me. Hey, Mike.
Everybody hates you. Everybody wishes that you were dead.
My favorite part is the, hey, Mike. Okay, he says, evening, gents. This came in like 10 minutes before we recorded. He says, in chapter 4 of the book of I Am Boba Fett, I Am Boba Fett takes the amazing, not yet dead Fennec Shan on a slow-ass bantha ride to a mod parlor where we got to watch the Matrix Revolutions for a few minutes. A weird section of an otherwise solid episode. The Slave One stuff was ace. Question number 1. What other franchises do you want to see Star Wars crossover with? I'm looking forward to the Star Wars NYPD Blue crossover where Kit Fisto has to juggle solving murders, fighting separatists, and being a single dad in an unforgiving city. I had 2. One was, I think we should see Real World Jedi Temple. True story! Mace has to room with Anakin. Like, oh God, they are on each other's tits all day. Look, the council voted and we think it's best that you should leave. That, or maybe like an Office style show about the Senate. So it's just like constant shots of Anakin bitching at Padme and then him leaving the room and her doing that like straight up, shot to the camera. Like, you see what I'm fucking dealing with? Those would be fun. Those are the 2 that popped into my mind. Question number 2, what happened to Fennec Shan's ship as seen in the Bad Batch? Will chapter 5 be a dangerous mission to go and find that? Good question. I forgot about that she had that ship. It's kind of like a long ship. We only saw it, a couple times, I think, in Bad Batch, but it was kind of a cool looking ship. Yeah, it could be a Mos Eisley. Just sitting there, waiting for her. Live long and prosper, Mike. Thank you, Mike. And that's it for the episode. Again, sorry for the goof. We were a bit tight on time with the recording snafu. It's a little off this week. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please go tweet about the show, share with a friend, do a review, and you'll get entries into our lightsaber contest. And until next time, in our experience, there's no such thing as luck. And to borrow Jay's line, we have spoken.